Hey, how's it going? I just want to do a lesson on Luke 12:13. Use this as a sort of platform for the discussion. It reads, "And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother, that he divide the inheritance with me. And he said unto him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruit? And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasures for himself and is not rich towards God." So I just wanted to use this as a sort of platform for talking about the world that we live in general. And I generally, like, you can probably get a feel from my videos, I take things to extremes, and I feel like in many ways that's very biblical. Jesus, in my opinion, was a very extreme person relative to like the environment or the surroundings, and the teachings of the people around him. And it applies to this day more so, in my opinion. In particular, because I feel like we're at the end of the end times. But to me, it's like it's very first. It's kind of interesting the way that this guy approaches Jesus and calls him master. And we have another example where, you know, um, we have the parable of the rich young ruler who comes to Jesus asking about eternal life and appears very sincere and all that kind of stuff. And I believe I've done a video on that, so check it out. But he's to me, this is a very this is a good analogy for all of us if we go to Jesus, or we call Yahushua in prayer for anything. It might not be dividing an inheritance, but to me, the way that he answers is brilliant, because he says unto him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? So he's saying, like, why are you bringing this to me, calling me master? And to sort of read into this more, it's like, I don't think Jesus has any issues, obviously, with being people's masters, or being a judge or a divider over things. But it's not only about like one thing. It's not only in that moment that's like it's convenient for you, obviously. And so that's convicted me many, many times, where I go to, God complaining just through my own mumblings about corporate America, but then there are other aspects of where I'm supporting the evils, of the world in various ways. And, you know, pornography and all that is one of the main one that comes up. It's like I can't go to God and say fix this one thing, but when I turn around and all that, I'm doing something that's contrary to things that he would want, in other aspects of my life. It's just it's not like a band-aid solution. And so Jesus goes into kind of, if the person's still around to hear his stuff afterwards, because it goes on to say he said unto them, so it looks like maybe he changed his direction or just raised his voice to the larger audience. And he talks about being beware of covetousness, and not basing your life on how much you have. So basically, he is indirectly answering the guy's question. He's saying, first of all, if you are wanting me to be a master, you have to kind of understand this is what I'm going to tell you. In fact, I'm going to tell you to give your brother the inheritance, and or whatever you get from that inheritance that you don't need, you have to go and sell it and give alms to the poor, which he goes down and talks about a little bit later in 33. Sell that ye have and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not. So he's basically, like I feel he does in virtually every interaction, he's just turning everybody's mind towards heaven, describes it the kingdom of heaven. And so this is really, like I mentioned in another video, everything that's on earth right now opposes thinking about the kingdom of heaven. It's very much, and it's just no individual's fault, and I do this myself. I'm just saying we're all in this together. But there's nothing that points us towards, sowing into the kingdom of heaven, and having the kind of faith that Jesus talks about here, where consider the ravens, they neither sow nor reap, and all that kind of stuff, but God takes care of them. So to me, the only way that these verses and many of the things that, if not all the things Jesus or Yahushua says, you have to be comfortable with death. Like, you have to be okay with potentially God giving you increase, like this person received, or decrease, or and it could change, and daily potentially, and all that. So it's not easy to implement, and it's much easier for me now, knowing that we're at the end. Like, if I would have really taken this seriously, like 20, 30 years ago, I don't know where I would have ended up in this world. This is where I think a lot of Jesus's teachings, if you really do them, especially in evil times, you're not going to live for very long. It's like I'm imagining myself 20 years ago in school, and then just being much more relaxed, and just asking questions, doing what I could, trying my hardest, not worrying too much about the results. I don't know where that would have left me, like maybe I would have been able to be successful and all that, but I don't know. To me, to implement this verse means that, I wouldn't have studied as hard as I did. I wouldn't work as much as I do, because to me, those kind of things are for people who want to, like, ensure, like, quote unquote, have, some assurance of, like, a job, money, security, all that kind of stuff. And so I don't know. I don't really know. It would have been, I can't obviously go back in my life and redo it, but who knows where I would have ended up, if I would have really, like, practiced this verse. And so this is where I think the times that we live in now, even though they're scary, because there's really no security, job security, financial security, anything for even the rich as well. It's this is a good time to, like, practice these things. And to me, in the age that we live in right now, it is evil, whether we're leveraging this verse or not. It's evil to take what's going on in the world seriously, any of it. Like, the financial system's just a joke. I mean, they're just giving money out, digital money out. The education system is a joke. Flat Earth is just one example. Even if you're not a flat earther, the fact that they just have, like, 20 some years back to back of education / indoctrination, and they don't teach us anything. Like, we don't have better intuition. We obviously are not learning about God, why we're here, any of that. We don't know anything about our own bodies, like what's healthy, and all this kind of stuff. So obviously God has done this, and he's basically retarded us, but that's a joke. The medical system is completely satanic, like, from A to Z. Like, I honestly think the medical system is worse than the financial system, because the financial system, like, even though the jobs are stupid, you can, like, get a job, and in some ways having a job is healthy for you. Not many of the jobs that are out there, but some, doing something. But the healthcare system is purely designed to lure you in and become a drug addict, and take that hard-earned money that you've earned, and in fact leave you off in a worse position than before. You never hear any doctors, from the chief doctor of US or the Surgeon General or whatever, just talk about relaxation, and, like, don't work so much, and putting pressure on corporations to, like, have fair practices. You don't hear any of that, because that's the foundation of health, like real health. And so, in fact, their objective probably largely pushed too from the healthcare as well, not just the financial aspects, but the chip has a huge healthcare component as well to it, where they'll put your medical records, they'll claim that, they'll be able to, like, treat you better, medically, more precisely, and all this kind of stuff. So that's that's deceptive, and that's satanic. And so what else? Entertainment. I saw a CNN video about Justin Trudeau's eyebrows, and I just shook my head, and I laughed. And to me, it was that actually was probably the motivator for this whole lesson was like, it is evil to take this world seriously. It is just all aspects of it. It's okay to to not care. To me, it's okay to be numb to the world and just if people say stuff, and it's okay to just walk away. And it's like if your job is just in a position where you just feel like it's totally evil, like to me it's okay to walk away, and let God figure out the next thing. But the next thing might be dying, and that to me that's totally okay. And I think that's where I've gained a tremendous amount of comfort and at least a position to fulfill some of these verses, not all, and with any kind of perfection, obviously, like Jesus did. But I'm in a better position now. I'm a little bit angry at God that I didn't know this sooner, because I would have liked to have more fun throughout my life, and just play with people, and in a not in like a bad way, but like in a just kind of make fun of the world, and just kind of like go along with it, and be comfortable with dying early. That's my only regret. If I could like wish for anything, is to like not necessarily have more riches or go back and have more pleasurable experiences, but just at a young age just be very like cavalier, be very casual about death, and just laugh about it, and just hope that it comes sooner, and play with God, because I feel like in many ways he's playing with me. So I just want to start playing now. And so, it's don't have this evil aspect where like everything is stupid, because the only thing that I feel is important is like in this verse, it's like there are the poor, there are people who are experiencing pain that we don't know why, and we don't have the answers, and we won't. So we have to assume that we're there to help them. That's our responsibility, and our own pain, and whatever that might be, we have to take that seriously, clearly. And so, it's that to me is like really the only fundamental thing that we can should take seriously. It's like, as far as all the goings on of the world, the gossip, the chatter, and all that kind of stuff, to me, that's madness. That Kim Jong Un meeting and Donald Trump and all them, like we're supposed to take that seriously. That has nothing to do with the end times. I don't care who, uh, you know, does commentary on that. That is evil to in my opinion, to acknowledge that, and but even more satanic to think that has anything to do with the end times. That meeting somehow is a trigger for something. The only trigger that I feel we have is the days getting cut short for the elect's sake. So that means that is the first thing that will cause the end times to officially be underway. And then when that gets sort of triggered, then like, to me, there's like a UFO invasion, and then the mark of the beast, and all these kind of things that the scriptures talk about. So, but very much it's at the elect, it's people, it's that are governing the end times, and more specifically, it's God's people, and more specifically, God's people who are sowing into the kingdom of heaven. Those are obviously the ones that are closest to God. So whether we're in that fold or not, we don't know, but we can practice those things and hope, that we can be considered worthy of that. So to me, it's okay to take this world, not seriously. Like, if this is like an extreme example, but if any of us were to go to our job, or lose our job today, or just struggling by not having a job, or not having a job that fulfills us, and to me, it's okay to leave those if it's really like causing you physical turmoil and anxiety. If you can't figure out a way to deal with it apart from leaving that situation, to me, that kind of puts the ball back in God's court. But you have to then know that we're dealing with a spirit who put his son on a cross and died a grisly death. So if death, and as this verse even talks about, when that soul is required of thee, I'll read it exactly in 20. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be? So basically, when that energy, when that spirit that's in us, which is truly us, whatever that is, I feel it's a portion of the mind of God, a very small piece of the mind of God, his energy. When he calls that back, what good do those riches have, And so to me, our soul could be called back, and to me, those are the kind of things that people would learn and would almost not make you purely righteous, but those are the purifying things, that I feel like one of the many reasons why we would be here on earth is to realize that, having faith in God and trusting Him, the results may not be what we want, and being completely comfortable with that, to me, would be a major milestone for someone to really live that out, and I feel like in many ways that's what I'm going through right now, and it's scary, but it's also very freeing, like as much as I'm kind of, sad about the state of the world and what's going on, it's like the more I think about death, and just this all ending, it's like it's very like refreshing, to know that, if that's the worst case scenario, there's a very real chance that there is an afterlife. We have faith in that, and it could be very good. Depending on whatever God chooses. And certain decisions that we made throughout our life, and there's still time. To make good decisions. And to like help people and all that kind of stuff. To be selfless and humble and all of those kind of things that in my opinion, the world does not promote, and no one's gonna recommend you do this. No boss or very few bosses, leaders are going to tell you to like grow in any kind of spiritual way or to rest, to relax, to collect your thoughts, to think with a larger perspective, all that kind of stuff. That's not what this world values. This world is very short term, pleasure focused, and all that kind of stuff. And Jesus says, what are those things going to get us? And even for me, like dating and chasing women around and sexual pleasures and all that kind of stuff, it's like they have no redemptive value in the sense that you can't cash those in for anything. In fact, you're gonna have to cash out, to account for them. And I don't know how that works, and I will never pretend to, but it's not good, what I'm involved in. And have been really pursuing, I guess since puberty, and like not saying all of it was evil and malicious and all that. I think many of those relationships and interactions were very, very sincere. But my point is like just overarching, it's you don't want to take that seriously either. Like don't take those signals in our body that we can control and are not like mandatory. Like eating food is like mandatory, unless you're fasting. But, certain things you have to like, heed to. And this is why we have to take care of the poor, because they have those signals as well. And, that's important. But like, certain sexual impulses, jealousy, all these kind of other emotions, they don't matter. They have no redemptive value whatsoever. And in fact, they're cancerous to our own health and all that kind of stuff. So this guy coming up to Jesus, it sounds like he was a bit probably like irritated, and like just on like looking for the last person who will help him out. And you could I bet you his physiology was just jacked up. Like he was just mumbling, bumbling, angry, just freaking frazzled, trying to get this inheritance from his own brother, and like all this kind of stuff. So it's not good for our own body to take those signals seriously, and sexual ones in particular will lead us and has led me down a path of certain sins that you don't want to be involved in, and hopefully, it all can be redeemed or like forgiven and all that in the spirit world. But, I don't know, but we don't, it's not good. Basically, to me, this is good license to not take any of these things seriously outside of us, but also a lot of things internally. It's okay to like just be clueless, about these kind of things. Be very aware of them, but be clueless at the same time. It's like I feel like we're called to care about everything infinitely, but also care about nothing at the same time. And it's a very difficult balance that Jesus or Yahushua did perfectly, and we have to find a way to mimic. It's like I have to still. I'm still responsible to people around me, but I can't overextend and do things, that cause me in any way to worship anything but the Creator.